This program is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised.
Congratulations on honoring Milwaukee with your wonderful festival.
Oh, no, thank you for being such a big part of it. You may not realize how big of a help you were, but you guys have been a big help.
Well, that's our purpose. Once we got established and moderately successful, Michael Herz and I wanted to, help independent art and commerce to survive during an age of oligopoly by the majors, cartel, media cartel. I'll take my glasses off. Doesn't look too good. Are you filming this, or is it just?
I'm gonna go live right now. We've got people in the audience.
Oh, okay. Does this look okay? This particular frame?
Yeah, you're awesome. You look perfect.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Perfect.
Who's the other gentleman?
My name is Tom.
Ken?
Tom.
Nice.
You can call me whatever you want. I'll answer.
Call him whatever. I do.
Are you in Milwaukee, Tom?
Grafton.
Oh, nice.
Right. Just south of Milwaukee, or north of Milwaukee.
I've been to just have had some oral surgery when they grafted one of my some bone into my teeth.
Okay.
That's bad. That's a sample of the humor, the witticism you're going to be getting as soon as you go live.
Excellent.
Very nice to meet you, Tom.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for stopping by.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, it looks like that we are live right now. So, Lloyd Kaufman, thanks for coming on. Sorry that we're starting a little bit late, everybody. Thanks for hanging in there.
Yeah, it's my fault. I was getting an injection of cat tranquilizer.
It's understandable. Sometimes you just have to go with the flow. First, my question is, how did Troma get started? Because I hear different stories. I hear, number one, you and Michael Herz were good friends. Other people say, no, they hated each other. They weren't friends. Michael had a pinball machine. Lloyd had a TV. That's how they got together. How did Troma get started?
Well, we met in jail. Michael Herz was my bitch, and I wasted all my cigarette money on him. We used to call him Chino in those days. But actually, the jail rhymes with Yale, and Michael had gone to Camp Tarigo product placement with my brother, Charles, who directed possibly Troma's best horror film, Mother's Day. He wrote and directed it, and it is a horror masterpiece. Eli Roth's favorite horror film. And my brother Charles said to Michael Herz, "Why don't you say hello to Lloyd? He's all alone. He's got no girlfriends. Sad. Since he sits alone in his room crying and watching his black and white TV set." And Michael, by chance, wanted to see television. He didn't have a TV set. So the only reason he wasted any time with me was so he could use my TV set. And later on, I understood he had a pinball machine, which sounded like a great entrepreneurial thing for a college student. And the fucking Yale made him remove the pinball machine. Which is typical of what Yale does. Now they're removing Nobel Prize winning and they're lynching, metaphorically, Nobel Prize winning professors who also write best-selling books, and their wives. They drive them out because they thought that the Yale students should be able to choose their own Halloween costumes, whereas Yale sent out a letter to the student body at Yale, which is supposed to be one of the smartest groups of minds in the world, telling them what they should and should not wear for Halloween. It's okay to dress up as Where's Elmo, but do not wear a Mexican hat. Do not have a Chinese pigtail, because you'll be appropriating culture. Now, I masturbated to a Japanese woman. Is that appropriating Japanese pornographic culture? I don't know.
If you search for it, it is. If it just shows up, it's not.
No, I had to search for it. Although,
No, you went to Yale with some other famous people, though, didn't you?
Well, our class, I think every class at Yale is filled with somebody significant. But I grew up with Oliver Stone, and he was at Yale in my class we both dropped out after freshman year. He went to serve in the army in the infantry in Vietnam. I went to spend a year teaching in the remote bush country of Chad. No electricity, no phones, no MTV, no nothing. And I came back, and I was okay. And he came back crazier than ever, and he dropped out and hung out when I was making movies at Yale. And he worked on my first couple of movies, and then it turned out he was a movie genius, even though he was a psycho.
Yeah, I think I've seen a couple of his
Also,
movies.
the greatest president of the United States history, George W. Bush, was in our class.
I saw that.
Oh wow.
He was amazing. What a wonderful president.
Was that the first one?
Hashtag irony. The first one. God damn it! What do you think? Fucking H is over 100 years old and he's dead. Jesus Christ! You're not the first. You are not the first person to ask me that question too. That's what I'm very upset about. Most people say exactly that.
I
Well,
saw
or
how
they-
thick those glasses were you had on, so I had to ask.
They think Mel Brooks is me too. I get stopped in airports and restaurants for my autograph, usually by people your age. My father loves your work. And I get all excited because we saw Toxic Avenger, 1980s nostalgia. And then it turns, as we start talking, I realize they think I'm fucking Mel Brooks, who is a hero. He is definitely my hero, and he's one of my heroes. And I met him once, and his movies, the producers are basically Michael Hers and my trauma anthem. We can recite the dialogue quite well, better than we can recite Shakespeare.
See, if you ever run into Mel Brooks, you got to be like, do you know how many times I got laid and the chick thought I was you?
If I do run into him again, which I very much doubt. I've met his son, by the way, Max. I read his book about the zombie Holocaust, how to survive. But he goes to this similar circuit of conventions, sci-fi, horror, fantasy conventions. And he came over to our booth, and I went over. Yeah, somebody introduced us, and he's a very nice man. And he's incredibly talented. From what I understand, he's one of the hottest writers now in the media. So good for him.
It would be funny if people went to Mel Brooks thinking that he's Lloyd Kaufman.
It may well happen if people think I'm a classmate of George H.W. Bush. Why not?
I'll do that for you. If I ever see Mel Brooks, I'm going to be like,
thank you.
Taxi, let's do
He's on Twitter, and he just came out for settle for #settle for Biden. So he's still active. Oops, he's still active, and he put up a wonderful little video about a COVID video that was very cute that he did with his son. He's obviously a wonderful man. In fact, my wife and I went to see him speak in New York about a year ago, and he was hilarious and totally clean. There were about 2,000 people. It was at Temple Emmanuel, and he was totally clean, hilarious. And there was only one slightly off-color joke about pissing out a window or something. I also wear Brooks Brothers clothing just as a tribute to Mel Brooks.
Excellent. So who is Louis Sue? Louis Sue?
He is a filmmaker who I interviewed for produce your own damn movie. Very articulate. He was one of the greatest of the X-rated film directors, and was heralded for making movies that had scripts and 35 millimeter and that actually were real movies. And apparently there's a cult following for Louis Sue.
Oh, that's cool. All right. So
there's also a Samuel Weil who directed Squeeze Play, Waitress, Stuck on You, The Toxic Avenger, along with Michael Hers. That was my nom de plume because I was in the directors union, and they didn't want me directing movies. In those days, the directors union was a closed shop, and I was making a living in supporting trauma by being a production manager, associate producer, and all that stuff. But I was not permitted, according to the Directors Guild of America rules, to direct. I was forbidden to direct, and they kept bringing me up on charges for those movies. But since I never used my name, they were never able to kick me out. But after, I think it was Troma's War, they put me on trial. Again, I won, but they had a nasty, they had a really shithead old man running it, the New York Directors Guild, named Stanley Ackerman. May he not rest in peace. And what gave him joy was blacklisting people, kicking people
Oh,
out.
jeez.
That's what motivated those guys. You know, the Directors Guild was a very much a creator of the blacklist. And luckily, there were people like John Ford and others who fought against the blacklist. But anyway, after Troma's War, Troma was successful enough, so I quit. Sent him a nice love letter about perhaps they ought to think about including a few women and people of color in their union. And I'm happy to report that whereas in 1985, when I quit, the Directors Guild had 1/10 of 1% of their members as women and people of color, and now they actually have 1% of their members that are black and of color and women. So lots of progress.
You know, that brings me to mind. What do you think of the Academy's new rules regarding their awards, where they have more inclusion? What do you think that's going to happen?
Come on, it's going to be inclusion that is going to be bullshit. They're still Oscars so white. They should have given Spike Lee when they give Spike Lee the Lifetime Achievement Award. I might consider that they're going in the right direction, but they're scumbags. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I felt that they were reaching a little bit, but
well, it's just they're just caving to the stuff that hashtag Shakespeare shitstorm is speaking out against. They don't. It doesn't. It has to come from the heart. You know, I just put a clip up on my Twitter. Marlon Brando. You know who he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the greatest actors that ever lived since Sarah Bernhardt. At any rate, he's on the Johnny Carson show, 1968, and he turned down a big movie by Elia Kazan, who was also one of those shitheads who name names, but a genius in the movie business. And Marlon Brando talks about he turned this down because he wanted to turn his efforts to raising quote black people off their knees. And he contacted his celebrity friends so that they would give 1% of their annual income to the Southern to Martin Luther's Southern Christian, whatever that thing is. And Johnny Carson, right on the air, wrote him a check. And actually, Marlon Brando said he was donating 10% of his annual money, annual revenue to Southern. I can't remember whatever. As I told you, I'm getting senile, so I can't remember what the initials stand for. But the point is, what a great man Marlon Brando was. What a great role model. He was ridiculed for refusing the Oscar and sending up a indigenous woman to accept it and calling attention for the first time to me. So I imagine it's the first time to most Americans to the plight of the sad history of the indigenous Indians. And then John Ford also made a movie around that time called Cheyenne Autumn, which talks about the Trail of Tears and the sadness of what the indigenous people went through and how we basically committed genocide. I don't think the American public knew about it. They're certainly not doing much about it now. And I don't get the sense that Settle for Biden will do anything. I think, though, if he dies, and I don't want to say I hope he does, but he's very old. He could make a noise like a frog at any minute. He's definitely he's definitely, in my opinion, having those TIA strokes. And there's all sorts of stuff on YouTube where he calls Trump, Donald Trump, George, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So he may pass away, and then we get Kamala. She might actually make something happen. You don't know. Although she's married to a millionaire or a guy who's part of the establishment. But I think we got a shot at it. That maybe there really will be some change. Well, we'll see what happens.
Well, speaking of change, a movie like The Toxic Avenger, I was always wondering, today that would never be made into a children's cartoon?
Yeah, how the heck did that happen?
I don't think it got. I think we're still trying to figure out how it got made the last time. 30 years ago. Here's what I know. The toy company called Playmates had a big success with Teenage Mutant Ninjas, and Mutant Ninjas started to go down in sales. So they were asking their agent for they're a Chinese company, pretty scummy, and they were looking for an environmental hero. So their agent out in Santa Monica looked around, probably Google's, or I don't even know. No, there was no Google. He probably asked around and said, there's a superhero with a mop. He cleans up. He cleans up. So they probably never looked at the movie. That would be my guess. And they made the toys, and the cartoons came because of that, and about 200-300 licensing deals. But Stan Lee was a big admirer of the Toxic Avenger. He and I were friends since my Yale days, and he got Marvel to create the Toxic Avenger. This came before the cartoons, the Toxic Avenger comic books, and then the Toxic Avenger Marvel Toxic Crusaders. So all that stuff was out there, and beats me. But that's the thing about the industry we're in. Most of it sucks. Most of the people are 100% scumbags, and but there's a tiny few who are the best people in the world. And every once in a while, the roulette wheel stops on your number, and we got lucky for a while.
So what I really like about you use toxic waste all the time.
Yeah, I bathe in it. I brush my teeth with it. I use it for underarm deodorant.
I think it's the perfect thing to use in a movie because nobody really knows what it does. So you can do anything with it.
Well, it definitely ain't healthy for you.
No, I wouldn't recommend bathing in it.
But your point is well taken, because how many movies have used the toxic waste thing to get into their or something very much like it to create their superhuman heroes? You can't say superhero because Warner Brothers and Marvel.
You'll get copyright claimed, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. They own the English language, so you have to say superhuman heroes.
Or you can grow really fast, really good weed.
Copyright claim reminds me of YouTube. You guys had an issue with YouTube recently. Did that get resolved? What
did you really do to get banned from YouTube? It couldn't have been.
We didn't do anything. It was just some robot at YouTube. I made a little documentary, by the way, which you can put up on your site, called Independent Artists versus Corrupt Cartels, Corrupt Media Cartels, something like that. Dial in Lloyd Kaufman and independent artists versus corrupt media cartels, something along those lines. And I lay out not our movies so much, but other independent movies who have gotten shafted by the double standard. CNN can show people getting decapitated. YouTube can have child pornography that's on Netflix. They can promote Netflix pedophile movies, but our movies, which have been awarded and honored all over the world. I've been honored from Shanghai to Moscow to Cinémathèque Française which is oddly enough in Idaho. No, it's in France. Just a joke. And American Film Institute, American Cinematheque, British Film Institute, and they took our channel of 700,000 subscribers, which to me seems like a pretty good community. They closed our channel for community standards. So obviously they set their bots against independent art that might compete with them. I don't think they set their bots against porno. They certainly don't send their bots against violence. So I don't know. My guess is there's a double standard that both Amazon and YouTube have set to try to kill off any form of competition. they have also lowered their what they pay people like us. We used to get $1,000 if one of our movies had 1 million views. 2 years later, we get $1 for even more than 1 million views for the same movie. So well, at any rate, our fans went berserk. We have we have about 1 million fans around the world who go to our various sites and my fan site and what have you. And they made a big stink. They are very loyal to us. The people have tried to cancel me on social, and our fans go after them, and that stops real fast. And with YouTube, they created a hashtag, free Trauma's free channel. And I guess it went viral, and 2 days later, YouTube put us back up. So, some human being saw, hey, this ain't good. And we're getting a lot of bad publicity. And Trauma's been around for 47 fucking years. So, look at, and also, if anyone did any research, Trey Parker, James Gunn, Matt Stone, Oliver Stone, not the Rolling Stones, Marissa Tomei, Samuel Jackson, the first films of Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman. I mean, look at the movie Deadpool. It's a toxic. They even talk about it. The guys who made it, they're totally inspired by Trauma. How many Quentin Tarantino's favorite movie, horror movie? Eli Roth's favorite horror movie is Mother's Day. I've got it on tape. He's in one of my books saying that. So Michael Hers and I. Well, Michael Hers was not as he's okay. He holds grudges. So he had us migrate all the movies off of YouTube to Trauma Now, our streaming. But we do put up news. We do put up music videos and opinion pieces and the little documentaries that I make, and also, of course, trailers and TV ads and whatever on YouTube. But Trauma Now has all of the movies that we're migrating everything to Trauma Now. And I'd appreciate it if you could kindly mention to your fans that they should support us and support genuine independent art by going to watch.trauma.com and subscribing. The first month is free, and then it's only $4.99 a month, hashtag cheap. And we are minutes away from another platform called Trauma Plus, which will be an app that takes you to YouTube and all the other platforms that you might want to go to. So, keep an eye out for that, Trauma Plus, and we will be informing all our members of Trauma Now and our fans on the social networks that when Trauma Plus is ready. It's taking a while because one of our fans, we have no money. So one of our fans has been working for 2 years on an app that will bring the beauty of the art of Trauma Now to the world, on an app that will take them to a much easier way to see our movies and a much more mobile way to see our movies.
Awesome. Now, one of my questions too was going to be: do you think YouTube is a viable platform for independent filmmakers these days? It's gone downhill big time in the past few years.
I think they've set they have had a problem setting their robots, and if you want to appeal, you have 90 words or something like that to appeal. Yep. So how can you say anything? And pretty hard to say something in 90 words. So I think that they are interfering with free speech, and I think it's I know now, of course, there's a big jihad against hate speech and anything that approaches hate speech. But this reaction against nudity and violence is absurd to me. Children shouldn't be watching. Parents ought to be bringing their children up properly and don't allow them to watch. It's very easy. Don't give them a fucking cell phone. Put children, there are lock guards you can put on these things. And YouTube has an not safe for work designation. I think everybody does. Facebook, they all have ways to warn people, don't go on this. So yes, if there's somebody says kill all the Jews, I guess you want to get rid of that stuff, but I don't know that it's feasible to do it. And you know, I think the biggest problem we as independent artists have is that Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube are very happy to put independent art in their whatever their calculations are, so that we get it in the neck, and somehow they the bad guys just keep coming. I don't know. I put a 1 second of my 1-year-old grandchild, 1 second, because he happened to run through the frame on a very amusing Instagram video. It was hilarious, of my 3-year-old granddaughter, and they canceled me for a month. You know, I mean, come on. As
Wow.
Joe Biden says, come on, come on.
But isn't there a way to be like, you're known for over the top violence and gore, that it's obviously not meant to scare people or be real? It's kind of comical in a way. Can't you just be like,
cartoon? It's cartoon violence. And the good
Yeah.
news is that very soon, Trauma Now, Trauma Plus will be available to see on everything. So anywhere you want to go, you'll be able to see Trauma Now on your phone, on your chickens, on your dog, whatever, on your phone, whatever. I don't know. So yeah, there'll be a way to see our stuff. And you know, YouTube and Amazon.com, who I also covered in that little documentary from you know, about independent artists versus corrupt media cartels. They'll lose their revenue. Well, that's okay. And by the way, you can't even get anybody. At least I can't. Again, I've only been making movies for 50 years, and I've you know, got a pretty good following. And Troma has 1 million people who are involved monthly, but I can't get the phone call answered by Netflix or Amazon. You know, they only deal with aggregators who probably used to be crooked video cassette dealers or crooked Blu-ray dealers and distributors. So you know, it's who knows who's getting what under the table. You know, why is Amazon not dealing with the real artists? Right now, my partner Michael Hers was friends with Russ Meyer. He did everything out of his house. Died a very rich man, and he made good movies. Right? Quentin Tarantino loves Faster, Kill Pussycat, whatever it is. I'm a fan. I'm not a fan of Russ Meyer's behavior, having read his unauthorized biography. But I never met the guy. But Michael Hers was pretty friendly with him. And the immoral Mr. Tease, about the salesman who's going to the dentist and through a fluke of Novocaine, kind of like toxic waste, turns into a man who can read he can see people's naked, he can see them without clothes. It's a funny movie. It's genuinely funny. And he got screwed so many times. He just distributed the stuff by himself. The major media, by the way, ignores, basically it blacklists the, in addition to, the cartel, the studios and Netflix and Amazon blacklisting individual artists. The New York Times, the LA Times, all the TV stations, I could go down Fifth Avenue and shoot people, like Trump said, and they wouldn't cover it. I could hurl myself off the Empire State Building. There wouldn't even be a footnote. And Deadline.com, or whatever that thing is, they don't even have reporters doing news. They just seem to take it out of the New York Times, or and the reporters clearly have never read a book. The only thing they've read, in my opinion, is a menu or a blog. So the mainstream media is totally corrupt.
So
Not corrupt, but it's a club. It's all in a club, and they go in and out of each other's communities and pay each other and support each other, and there's no real competition.
Yeah, I think all the news corporations, all the mega media corporations, they're all owned by like 3 companies. So it's all intermingled.
And the New York Times is on the needle of advertising.
Yeah.
So when they want to pounce on somebody, they'll pounce on an independent distributor, a truly independent company like Troma. Look at the crap coming out of most of the mainstream movies are garbage. And, they go twist themselves into a pretzel to give Tenet a good, a mediocre review. They should say it's garbage.
Mhm.
It's what the fans said. And again, Chris Nolan, I've never met him, but I admire his work for the most part. But he obviously made a movie that was no good.
I didn't like it. I
Yeah,
didn't.
nobody liked it. So, but again, I'm against criticizing movies to begin with. I've been asked to be on many to judge quite a bit. I feel I'm very uncomfortable judging art. Van Gogh. They judged him when he was alive. He had to blow his brains out, and it wasn't until 50 years later that his work was valued. And now he's valued the way Picasso is. Picasso was a good showman. He was a good businessman. He beat up a lot of women, which in those days probably was applauded. The same way that Sundance applauded Harvey Weinstein, probably knowing that what he did. I'm sure they all knew what Harvey was doing. Harvey Weinstein was. Call him Weinstein. Don't even
Look what the co-founder of Sundance was just sent to prison for. So
Who's that?
What's his name? He went to prison for child molestation.
Who was the guy? Which Robert Redford? I can't.
No, not him. Not him.
He may have gone after a few mountain sheep, but not children. Who? Well, anyway, the point is, the mainstream people are far more disgusting, far more perverse than anybody in the underground. It's absurd.
So you've been doing film for 50 years, and you're having a tough time getting a call from Netflix or anything. Twisted Dreams Film Festival works only with independent films. What's some advice you can give that doesn't crush their soul with a reality check?
Well, the good news is that film is an art. And now I studied Chinese culture at Yale and the language. And the one takeaway that has stayed with me for most of my life is Taoism, the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. And he talks about a dualistic universe where everything is together, everything opposites are together. You've seen the circle with the black thing and the white thing. Good doesn't come without evil. Beauty does not come without ugly. Pain does not come without pleasure. The oyster gets a piece of sand stuck in its anus, and they're very painful, but it produces this most perfect, beautiful, lovely to hold pearl. And the good news about all this horror is that you can make your own damn movie, as I've written in 7 books, and you can do it for no money. You just need a script and a phone. And it's been done over and over again. You get good quality, and you just have to have something to say. And not everybody has something to say. Not everybody has a point of view. Not everybody. It takes a little time to get the craft down. And you can make your own damn movie for no money. And then you can take it around to conventions, to Twisted Dreams Film Festival, to underground film festivals, and sell your Blu-rays, share in the proceeds, get some theaters to play it if you can, colleges, film schools, whatever, and keep your day job. You can do something useful with your life, like be a nurse or a drug dealer. I mean, a social worker, or a teacher, something like that. And then maybe you make another. You save a little money every year. You do a GoFundMe, or go to your friends and mother for a Kickstarter. Maybe you get $5,000, put your money with their money, and you make a movie, and it'll look just as good as any trauma movie. Well, I shouldn't say that. It'll look just as good as any so-called independent movie coming out of Fox Searchlight, one of the vassals of the cartel. And then maybe you sell a little bit, but you then do it again the next year, or maybe you have to wait a year and save up some more money, and then they sell that one, and you get better at it. You sell more Blu-rays, you get on more little websites and make a few bucks, like Troma Now, in our case pennies. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's $2, who knows? But if you make a few bucks, you get more eyeballs, and then you make another movie, and you're learning more, and you're getting better, and eventually you switch over. Your day job becomes your part-time job, and your movie making becomes your full-time job. And I have friends who've done that. Brian Williams and his wife Ellie Church. I've known them for 20 years. They started in Cleveland. He was a bartender. She had a day job. I think they moved to Atlanta, which is a big movie capital now, and they're making their own damn movies. I think they're getting plenty of money on Kickstarter and YouTube, so they're going. I don't think they have to be bartenders and whatever Ellie Church was doing, and they're getting better and better at making movies. And there are people like that all over who are doing very, very well. And I've been producing 3 or 4 movies recently for other directors that are well under $50,000. And you could make a movie for. We have a wonderful movie, Father's Day, by Astron 6. That movie was made somewhere between 25,000 and 50,000, and it's a masterpiece. It's terrific. It's great. It's as good as any movie on Netflix or Amazon. But we're economically blacklisted, so what are you going to do? But the good news is Astron 6 is making more movies. There's actually there are only 5 of them. And they got, after Father's Day, Troma back movie, we produced it. They got $250,000 from the Canadian government to make a movie. And Fernando Ale, Portuguese director, who slept on the floor and learned how to defecate in a paper bag, working on Return to Nukem High Part 1 and Return to Nukem High, 2 movies, 2-part movie. He gave me a script, which I very much liked, and I gave him some notes, some of which he agreed to. And we went to the Portuguese government. They gave us 10 times more money, not 10 times,
Wow.
but so he has a real good budget. He made the movie, and it's on Troma now. It opened in Los Angeles at Laemmle Cinemas, the best chain in California, independent chain. It did very, very well, but unfortunately, during that first weekend, there was lockdown in LA, and Fernando had to go back to Portugal. I had to run back to New York. Otherwise, we would have gotten stranded there. It's on Mutant Blast. Check it out. It's terrific. Mm-hmm. And it's on Troma now. It's in the Portuguese language because I wanted to make sure people could act. Very often, these shithead schlocko producers and directors try to do things in the English language in Spain. And if the Spanish actors don't speak English, they can't act. And you can dub in American dialogue, but it sounds like horseshit. So yeah, we had them speak genuine Portuguese. The acting is terrific. I've played it for numerous theaters, for numerous. It's been in about 40 film festivals, many of them English speaking. The audiences roar with laughter. They don't mind reading the subtitles.
Yeah, our best film this year was House. It's a Spanish film with subtitles. It was our best feature.
Host, not the
House.
Oh, House. Yeah, House. Yeah. Oh my God, House. Yeah. Is that HAUS?
It's HOUS 3. It's spelled kind of weird.
HOUS 3. Yeah. I've not seen it. Yeah, but there's a HOUS that's a kind of a classic. That's terrific. And there's a House, HOUSE, an American film by Sean Cunningham.
That's a great movie. That's a great movie.
Yeah, he's very good. Good guy. And the thing you'll find is that the sci-fi, fantasy, horror people, they are the nicest people. I mean, I've yet to meet anybody nasty, whereas I've met plenty of nasty people.
Yeah, it's a great community. The horror community, sci-fi community, fantasy. It's a great community.
They love what they do. They love the genre. They love the fans. The fans love them. Debbie Rochon, Tiffany Shepis. They're all lovely people. It's terrific.
Yeah, every year we have just a really good time. We a lot of filmmakers are able to make our festival, and it's we can network people out. That's why we do this. We love networking filmmakers together. We love showcasing independent horror. I don't feel that there's enough venues that really showcase independent horror and science fiction and fantasy films. It's all
definitely not. And unfortunately, the big genre festivals in Europe and Asia have lost funding from their governments, so they have to rely more on the establishment.
Yeah.
And Sitges, which to me was the best, they seem to be feeding at the trough of the major studios. They seem to have lacked. I think they have new management. Most of them have new management. and I think they're a lot less courageous than they used to be. So it's a pity. But what are you going to do? This is the world we live in.
Yeah, I wish we could find sponsors. Nobody wants to sponsor a horror convention or a horror film festival.
Well, that's the problem. Everyone's chicken. They're afraid. Everybody's worried about getting canceled or
Mhm.
hashtag Me Too.
Oh yeah,
all that stuff. So
Yep.
it's too bad.
Yep.
We have freedom of speech in this country, and unless we say something, we have freedom of speech as long as we don't say anything.
Yeah, but that doesn't hold up in the court of public opinion. Freedom of speech.
Yeah.
No, well, the people are scared. People are scared. Nobody wants to get fired. Nobody wants to risk getting canceled. Luckily, we have a few people. Bill Burr, who I think is from Australia, he's had a great rant on Saturday Night Live where he criticized the
I think he's from Boston.
Oh, well, same thing.
Yeah,
that's kind of
same
like
thing.
Australia. They have beer, and I'm kidding. Well, I didn't know that. I thought he was from Australia. Anyway, he did a wonderful rant. And by the way, his F is for Family, which I think is a French cartoon. It's in English. It's hilarious. It's a 70s piece where the kind of like Archie Bunker kind of thing, except the father says "fuck you" to the kids, and I wish I'd rather be dead than watch you and go to school or whatever.
A typical 70s dad.
It's very funny, and they love each other and all that. So Bill Burr is not afraid to speak out, and C.K. Lewis, who's very funny, he said, "Fuck everybody. I'll just start my own website, charge $5, and he's making millions." So the mainstream lost out, and I'm sure that I read Woody Allen's book. These New York Times gave his movie a kind of a mediocre review because they were the only major media that sided with the crazy wife, and but his book is brilliant. You read his book, there's no question she's the nut, in my opinion. I think in everybody's opinion, it's well written, it's well documented, it's everything is backed up, and no court accepted her crazy stuff, and it's just the blue noses, the people like the New York Times. New York Times had an editorial. We should help the Iranians during COVID. They're wonderful people. And now what just happened? They blew up American people. We should help the Iranians. They, blah, blah, blah. Where's the New York Times on helping the Muslims who are being killed? They are being slaughtered every day. They're genocide on the Chinese Muslims. But the Iranian Muslims, we should save them. What about the Muslims in Myanmar? The Rohingyas? The Muslims in China are called Uyghurs, which don't mean white people. Uyghurs are Chinese Muslims. The Muslims in the Rohingya in Myanmar, it's horrible. They're dying of COVID, thousands of them. And you can be damn sure that the concentration camps in China, and that's what they are killing. I'm sure there's got to be horrible COVID. Same thing in the prison system of the United States of America, especially in Alabama and Mississippi. The black people, they're dying like flies. They don't even give them soap there. It's horrendous. But the New York Times wants to help our good friends, the Iranian. Fuck them. Fuck the New York Times. It's disgusting. I read it. I have to say I read it, and I do get some information. But I read a lot of other stuff, and it's a little hard to get the truth, but you can get it.
Speaking of COVID, how does that hurt the independent filmmakers nowadays?
I think, I'm producing 2 movies that had to cease. No, one movie had to take a hiatus, and two of them are finished shooting, but they're being edited. So, the work goes on. I can't, business is horrible, but we've been, unlike Disney, who's laying off a kabillion people, Troma has been paying all our employees, which is only about 10, through the whole thing. And, I think we're picking up subscribers on Troma now because people are at home and they're tired of seeing pre-warmed baby food that's on a lot of the other sites. And they want real independent movies. And certainly Netflix, I'm watching Netflix, I'm watching Amazon, I'm watching HBO, and they have great entertainment, but it's all coming in through the strainer of the vassals of the giant studios. So they're pre-digested. There are people who want to see jalapeno pizzas. They don't want just a plain pizza. They want jalapeno peppers on their pizza. And Troma Now and Troma Entertainment provide those jalapeno pepper flavored pizzas.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know that I see a lot of buzz about Watch Troma Now.
Oh, good, great.
People are talking about it in the community. I definitely.
Well, we have had no we don't have a big subscriber base, but we're trying to get the word out. We have no money for advertising, and nobody has left. Not one subscriber. Again, the first month is free, but all the people who've stayed, they've not quit, and it's only $4.99 a month. And Netflix just raised their price.
Yep.
And by the way, Troma Now has movies of the future, have shit disturbing movies, as well as very funny movies for kids, for family, cartoons, we got Doggy Tales. We got a lot of movies for families. I mean, you could literally just have Troma Now and be way ahead of your fellow movie watcher.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, we got a couple of questions from the audience. Molly asks, what was your favorite movie to make?
Hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, Molly, because I think it's my best film. And it was a love fest. Everybody on the movie loved each other. They came from all over the world. Mm-hmm. We had a first cameraman from Denmark. The production designer was Japanese. We filmed in New York, and the director of photography was from LA. The head of props was from LA. We had people from Canada, England. I mean, literally all over come and either be in the film or work on it. And that's why there are so many callbacks. If you see Shakespeare Shitstorm, hashtag Shakespeare. The hashtag is very important because one of the themes is criticizing the snowflake SJW culture. But hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm has so many fans working on it. So there's we rehearsed for months, but when we got to the set, we were well prepared, and the actors themselves would give me ideas for improvising. And there's a woman who, one of the villains who the actor person happens to play the ukulele, and she wanted to play it in the movie. So I said, well, why? The guy who starred in Kabuki Man as the evil one, he happened to show up that day to be an actor person, what you would call them extras, perhaps. We call everybody actor persons. We want them all to feel equal. We don't want a production assistant carrying the lead's suitcase, because most of these people are just starting out, and they're all equal, in my opinion. So the evil character, who's a Chinese woman, played the ukulele and sang the Sergeant Kabuki Man theme song, along with the guy who played the evil one in Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD in 1989. So that's 30 years ago. And then there were these two young guys who were fans, huge fans of Poultrygeist Night of the Chicken Dead, and they also set up our movie in some theaters in the Midwest, and they flew in and worked on the movie and asked to be in it, and they wanted to be Diaper Mafia in the climactic scene, and they're naked except for diapers. A call back to Diaper Mafia. There's a very nice, subtle, if you're a Troma fan, there's an added attraction to hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. So I think that was Molly. I think that's my favorite film to have made.
When did you know that Troma was going to be its own universe?
Well, the intention was always from the beginning. Once we realized that we had to learn distribution, I had had been a big fan of Stan Lee when I was in Yale, and obviously the Marvel universe is a big influence and inspiration to Troma. So it was pretty much when we started the actual Troma in 1974, same year I got married. '74, we always had the vision that we would start our own universe and try to create our own stars and have our own little distribution department. And for about 25 years, we occasionally rose our head above the reeds of the underground and would break into the mainstream with movies like Toxic Avenger and Class of Nukem High, and even Romeo and Juliet, even as late as Romeo and Juliet. But toward the end of the '80s and mid '90s, we got basically excluded, economically blacklisted, because the rules that protect monopoly were done away with, and the rules that protected monopoly also that are on the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, were done away with. Reagan and Clinton sealed the doom of the independent movie studio. So I think we're the last ones. We're the last dodo bird on the beach that hasn't been pummeled by the greedy explorers.
I heard that you wrote a screenplay with Stan Lee.
Yes, 1969.
What was that about?
It was called Night of the Witch. It got optioned at least once. I think it might have been optioned twice, but unfortunately, it never got made. We actually had money from Scandinavia to make it as a Stan Lee's Night of the Witch by Lloyd Kaufman, and written by Lloyd Kaufman. And that would have been huge. It would have made a lot of money, and the community, as you call it, would have gone. They would have peed in their pants. But unfortunately, by that time, Stan was partnered with a very nice man who only wanted Stan to do AAA movies. So Stan was willing. He was all set for it. He met with me a couple of times. We talked the script through. He met with the guys from Finland who were going to put up the money. They came into LA to meet with him, and all signals go. I was going to have a celebratory lunch with Stan and his partner, and instead of it being celebratory, it was a kiss-off lunch. Lloyd, Stan can only do AAA movies, and you can do whatever you want with Night of the Witch. We wish you luck, and we love you, but Stan doesn't need to go back to $500,000 movies. I don't know if he ever made 500,000 movies, but basically that's what happened, and so Night of the Witch never got made. But in writing that movie, the people who got killed were all bad people, and so I used that theme to when I came to write the story for the Toxic Avenger. So it was not a wasted effort. Okay. And it's a good script. If anybody's got some dough out there, it's a very, very good script. We'd have to, I guess, I don't know that we could get Stan's name on it anymore, but I think the community knows that Stan Lee wrote. He gave me a tape, quarter-inch tape, 1970, which had his idea for the story on it. It didn't have killing the bad people. It was a witch, and basically who was the witch, modern day witch. And I took it from there, and it was a good story. So you never know. His estate, I'm friendly with his daughter. I don't know. Unfortunately, his wife is no longer with us. But if somebody's serious about it, I'll go find his daughter or whoever's got his estate and take it from there. But
there you go.
I wouldn't. I'd be happy to give it to another director. So. It's not me. I'm not. I don't have to direct it. It's a good script, though. It's a good script, and it was written in 1970, so it's probably come out as an R rating today.
Yeah. Mike Detterman asks, I heard you helped out with the original Rocky Horror movie. How was that experience?
No, not the Rocky Horror movie, Mike.
Oh, the original Rocky movie.
Rocky. Yeah, Rocky. John Avildsen, I met when I was a production assistant on his movie Joe, when I was working for a small company called Canon. And I knew when I came to the set the first day, he requested that I be a production assistant on the set. And because the other ones were not, I think, up to standard. And the day I got to the set, I saw that John G. Avildsen was a real artiste, and I saw the first time I saw him putting up a shot, I knew it, and I attached myself to him, Joe became a huge hit. It was made for $125,000. Was Academy Award nominee for Best Screenplay. No famous people, no famous director. Shitty little company called Canon, but yet it got nominated for an Academy Award and made New York. That would never happen today. Nothing like that would happen. But anyway, he and I became friends. I knew he was a friend when I screened Battle of Love's Return, my first movie, which was a 16 millimeter color movie. It wasn't my first movie. It was my first feature-length movie that actually got into some theaters. Oliver Stone's in it, and a few other people may have heard of. But it was unwatchable, 16 millimeter, and nobody burned the seats in the New York Times in those days. And Judith Crist, New York Magazine, gave it pretty good reviews. And Avildsen actually sat through it, and we became very good friends. And then he was trying to get another gig, and I told him I would help him out and work for free. And if he got a gig, give me a decent job, and he agreed. And when he got the gig to direct Cry Uncle, which is a hilarious movie, it's black and white. It's X-rated in its day, but you watch that film. It's on Troma now. It's absolutely hilarious. And once again, he transformed a Schlocko script into a brilliant. Today, it's a soft R, Cry Uncle, but it's on. I raised some money for it, and it was originally released by Canvas Films and Lee Hessel, who unfortunately is not with us. But he was brave enough to go with Avildsen's ideas and let Avildsen go with his theory, which was he changed the detective into a little fat guy whose partner was a very tall, weird-looking ostrich-like woman. And David Odell wrote a hilarious screenplay. David Odell went on to write movies like Dark Crystal, and the DP went on to be the director of photography. Not what you're thinking of, Chris. You have got to go Pornhub for that. The DP went to Saturday Night Fever as the director of photography. Ralph Boda. And it's a hilarious goddamn movie. And Avildsen made another one called Foreplay, which is also on Troma now. And that one I did not have anything to do with the creating of it. Cry Uncle, I raised some money and was a production manager, and I'm in it as a stoned out or acid stoned hippie. You've got to see it. It's wonderful. And in its day, it was #1 on the Variety box office list. The full page ads in the New York Times, movie theaters all over the country, and it even got busted a few times. At any rate, when Rocky came along, the producers didn't want to put up the money to film in Philadelphia. They didn't want to have to bring the union team out to Philadelphia. You know, Rocky was a low-budget mainstream movie. I think the budget was $1 million, United Artists. So John G. Avildsen and Stallone convinced the producers to let the main characters go out to Philadelphia, and Troma would produce these under-the-table non-union scenes, which we did. We produced basically the nuts and bolts of all the Philadelphia famous iconic shots. The same people who brought you Blood-Sucking Freaks that made it possible for running up the steps of the museum, the fruit market, the pet store, Rocky in his neighborhood, outside of the gym. Again, I didn't do it alone. Sylvester Stallone had found a guy who was a kind of I don't think they had a film commissioner, but they had an assistant for the mayor, Mayor Rizzo, who was kind of a pretty tough dude, very right wing. But he understood the value of making a movie in Philadelphia. And goddamn it, if Rocky hasn't made Philadelphia a star, I think it's one of the reasons Philadelphia has had a huge comeback. And any rate, the rest is history. I'm in that movie too. I play the drunk. Yeah. So I actually did get drunk. I was
going to say, were you method on that?
I was, but I didn't do it right. I did not do it right. And John G. Avildsen demonstrated for me how to act drunk. The way to be a drunk is to try to show that you're not drunk, and it worked. I got it in the first take. And
That's
then
a good director. That's a good director.
he's one of the greatest he's probably the most underrated movie director, except for George Romero and maybe Uncle Lloydie. But there's more to the story of that one, Mike, because the exterior of the bar was shot in Philadelphia, but the interior was shot in Los Angeles, and the producers didn't want to pay for my plane ticket to do the interior, so I bought my own ticket and went to Los Angeles, and you see me in 2 or 3, I think 3 scenes in the interior of the bar, which I thought was great.
Awesome.
I'm gonna have to look for that now.
Yeah, you'll see me there. Yeah, it's pretty good scenes too. They're quite moving.
Awesome.
Well, so the Slashing Part 2 was really well. It was received really well at our festival. It was one of our favorite films. And Brandon asks if you will fund Part 3 for him.
Well, it's be my pleasure, and I think we should move up to maybe. I don't think we should spend more than $4 million on the third one, though. Hope that's okay with Brandon.
Under $4 million, okay.
I think so. He wrote hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm.
Mm-hmm.
He's extremly talented, and he's also brave. So I think by the time we get to Slashing 3, by the way, Slashing 2 is called the end of the beginning. Slashing 2. So I think he's going places. You know, we're responsible for discovering James Gunn, Eli Roth, Gabe Friedman, Samuel Jackson, Fergie, the dead great Paul Walker, all over the map. Our first films have Vincent D'Onofrio. His first performance is in The First Turn On, which is probably the strongest Michael Herz movie, where he has but basically he directed that one, and it's the funniest movie we've ever made. Marissa Tomei is in Toxic Avenger, her first film. So I'm certain that a lot of the people involved in Return to Nukem High and Return to Nukem High, as well as hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, I'm certain they will go on to be big stars.
Yeah, I've got a friend that was in Shakespeare Shitstorm, and she said it was an awesome experience.
Who was that?
Shanta.
Oh, Shanta's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, I think thanks to us, she produced a baby. I'm not sure, but
I think so. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
The baby looks a lot like Michael Herz. Very strange. Oh, take that out. Don't put that in. You'll kill me.
I don't know if she's watching or not.
No, Michael Herz. I don't care about Shanta, but you'll laugh at Michael Herz. He's serious, dude.
Yeah, she had a great experience. Her son was there, and yeah, she said that was just a great experience.
Oh yeah, and Joe Randazzo, who he put me in a short 10 years ago, and he's the most generous, decent guy you'll ever meet, and been very loyal to Troma. And he's one of those fans that if there's any bad mouthing of Troma on the Twitter sphere.
Oh yeah, Joe's the first one. Yep.
Yeah, he's the first one. The same way I was the first one to create a video supporting James Gunn. It happened at the first day it was announced was at Comic-Con, the first day of Comic-Con, and I was in the Troma booth with Toxie, and I made a video immediately. And then you know, there are a fair amount of celebrities who have been in our movies or who like us, who come around during Comic-Con and visit, and I would say to each of them, "Hey, can we make a quick video? I'll put it up, you know, so you support James. I'll come back later. You know, I've got another interview. You know." And eventually, some people did support him, but it sure took them long enough.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they had to kind of figure it out. Is this going to, you know, going to end up like, you know, whoever else got canceled? You know?
I have a theory about James Gunn getting fired. I think they publicly fired him, but behind the scenes said, "You ain't fired. Just hang tight. We have to satisfy these people.
I don't know.
You'll be back. Don't worry." Because he came back.
Disney lost a lot of money.
Disney
lost a lot of money when they
announced. He doesn't. I know they got rid of him, and then once the whole shit broke out, and once his lawyers, who were top of the line, served the papers, because he got a pay and play deal.
Okay.
They would have been millions, and he did Suicide Squad, in which I have a cameo.
Yep.
No way.
Really?
There was no. He didn't know. And he's a hashtag truth and love guy. He would never have misled any fans. No, that was real for sure.
Yeah.
He would
Okay.
never. James Gunn is the most decent, honest person you can find. He is one of the tiny percentage of mainstream people who is impeccable in every and the proof is all his staff, his lawyer, his agent, his manager, all the people that surrounded him back in the 1994 Romeo and Juliet days when he was starting to get gigs on to write the superhero movie he made, Something Men, and also the really brilliant one with the guy with Rainn Wilson and
Super.
yeah, Super.
Yeah.
He has the same people since then, same group. He didn't go changing to try to go Mr. Paul Weiss Rifkin or Mr. Super Lawyer or Super A. He stayed with his team. He's terrific. So I can assure you, he does abide by hashtag truth and love.
That's awesome to hear. I like James Gunn. I always have.
Oh, he's the best. Absolutely. Yeah. And he's talented, incredibly talented.
Yeah.
There are little things that short pieces that are on Troma YouTube channel, shorts that we did together. The best ones are his. You should see the one he did about the hamsters. He wrote and directed it. I don't want to be a spoiler, but if it doesn't make you laugh out loud, nothing will. Other than
I'll have to check it out. I think the first James Gunn film I saw was Slither.
Yeah, it's terrific.
That's an
Universal dumped it. He also cut me out, God damn it. But if you look hard, you'll see me in the police station. But I did an improvisation on that movie. The whole crew burst out. The actors, the crew, they burst out laughing. But James, being a true artist, he said it didn't really have anything to do with the movie, or with the story or whatever, and he cut me out.
So, that's too bad.
So you can be sure when I came back for Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's a memorable cameo. That's a memorable cameo. I remember it.
Yep. And for Suicide Squad, I behaved myself for sure.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm excited that he's getting all the recognition.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I can't say anything because I signed something.
You sure I can't get anything out of you? Just a little.
Actually, I think they forgot to have me sign that thing.
Oh, there you go.
But I know they don't want me to.
Not for millions of viewers.
Honestly, I think that's foolish because we want publicity. We want the media to come to our set and interview us. Shudder did a piece with me, and we had to interrupt shooting. And it's been all over the world. It's terrific. It got Troma a lot of a very favorable commentary. And I happened to be in drag that day. I was directing and acting as Prospero's sister. And I told the director that anytime I have an interview, I do it in drag. And they were very open. Oh, okay, no problem. They're very open about it. They had no idea.
Well, you have to be these days, otherwise, you're going to get me. You have to.
Yeah. Well, they didn't get I was joking, but what are you going to do? Anyway, it's an excellent interview, and I'm glad I did it. I don't understand why the stuff on set has to be so secret. They, especially then after the movie, they spend a couple of $100 million promoting it. So I would let the fans in, but again, I don't. That's probably one of the reasons I've never gotten the call to be on them. Although Michael Hers, I'm astounded that no studio has poached Michael Hers. He's run this Troma for 47 years, and we have no debt, and it's been harder than ever, and our movies are crazier than ever. And we've managed to kind of pick our way. And actually now we're benefiting from nostalgia. The 80s are back, and in fact, the drive-ins have become popular again, and our movies are all over the drive-ins now. Toxic Avenger is getting booked all over the damn place, and there's young people want to see 80s. They want to hear 80s music, and Uncle Lloyd is there for them.
Yeah, I think that's one good thing that came out of the pandemic is people are rediscovering all these awesome films from the 80s and 90s, and because we're not getting the big blockbuster movies this summer. Well,
that's the other thing. The scummy Regal Cinemas and the sick bastards at AMC, they say there are no films. They can't show any films because there are no profitable films. right? They're waiting for, what is it? Wonder Woman. There's tons of profitable films.
Their
They-
profits all in concessions anyway. They're going to sell you a $7 soda.
Yeah, I tell you, an audience that wants to see a good movie like the Brandon Bassam's Fear Town, they'd eat up so much fucking popcorn. The bathrooms, the lines to the bathrooms would be going around the block. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a cartel, and that's it. And by the way, AMC is owned by the genocidal dictatorship called China.
China, yep.
And the big Hollywood guys are now censoring their scripts so that it will appeal to the dictators of China, which is exactly what they did during the Nazis' day.
Yep.
Right?
And the public doesn't realize that, but yeah, China is controlling our media.
Yeah. Just the way Hitler did.
Yep.
And the only studio that didn't kowtow to Hitler was Universal, and God bless them.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Yep. Definitely, for sure. And AMC said, well, we're not going to play Universal films because they put whatever Scooby-Doo on VOD right away before it went to theaters. And look where AMC is now. We don't know if we're going to be in business, but we're not going to play some of the biggest films in the world.
Oh, they're scumbags.
Yeah,
absolutely. And Regal too. They're absolute garbage.
Yeah.
They have no love for cinema. That's for sure.
No, they don't. And we're lucky here in Milwaukee because we've got a chain of independent films or independent theaters that host us. We wouldn't be able to do our festival at a big megaplex like a Regal or an AMC.
Well, you have the Times Theater, don't you?
Yes.
Very nice.
Yep. It's a one-screen theater, so we don't have any competition.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful theater. I was really looking forward to you coming to Milwaukee this year too, but
well, I've been to the Times Theater.
Have you?
At least 3 times. Yeah, they played our movies. We did very well there. We always sold out. Again, we only got a weekend or sometimes just one night, but pretty much sold out. And there's another one there too that we did very. But again, I'm going back 15 years, so I will come to Milwaukee if you're showing Troma movies.
Absolutely. Last year we brought Joe Bob Briggs to the Times. He did How Redneck Saved Hollywood, and we sold out. That was a sold out show.
That's great. Good for him. He's terrific. Yeah, he's a good writer too. He's a good writer.
Yeah,
wonderful. And by the way, his show, a huge success, is produced by Justin Martell, my former assistant, who produced hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. John Brennan, my former assistant, who produced hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. Yuki, who production designed hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. There were like 8 people, Troma graduates, who were helping Joe Bob make that show. John Brennan sings his songs on Joe. I mean, it's wonderful. And how cool that Shudder and Joe Bob recognize the coming talent. And they've showed 3 or 4 Troma movies. And in fact, the commissioner and I went on. My wife was 20 years New York commissioner of film, New York State. We went on Joe Bob, and he was really great. Troma's War, that was it, and it trended, and we had a blast, and it was very nice for us to kind of poke our heads above the underground for once, and how nice that Shudder permitted it.
Mm-hmm. Tony Ramos asks, you mentioned Oliver Stone. How was it going to school and working with him? Did he ever ask you for any input with his Scarface script or any of his work? Thank you for all your life's work.
Well, thank you, Tony. I met Oliver Stone in 2nd grade, and his mother and my mother became very friendly, and his father and my father became best friends. And we were very close. We lived 2 blocks away from each other in Manhattan. And I would go over to his home because he was a single child, and he would just beat me up, and I'd usually go home crying. But we had many delightful bullying sleepover. Used to beat up his dog. He had a poodle. And then one day I went after him, and then we got along a little better. But we still remain close, mainly I think because our parents were very, very close. He had a very mean streak, and my best friend Roger Kirby, who's a great inspiration to me, he and I knew that Oliver would either be a great man or an axe killer, and he is indeed one of America's greatest treasures. But had he been doing what he was doing today, I think he would be canceled. The last time I saw him was on a tape where he was, or a movie, he was interviewing Putin and had his tongue way up Putin's ass.
Wow.
So and I do admire his movies. He's got a great body of work. He gave me advice on sugar cookies. I wrote the script with Theodore Gershony, and I raised all the money from my Yale friends and from Oliver and people like Roger Kirby. And I should have directed it. And but we had two people who were 10 years older than we, and we listened to them, and we ended up with a good-looking movie, and but too slow and boring. And it's Sugar Cookies is the only X-rated movie. Now it'd be a soft R that lost money. And Oliver also was responsible. He had good instinct. He put a star. He said we should have some stars. We only had $100,000, but he got Monique Van Vuren, who was a star back then, not a huge one, but somebody well known. And I had worked with some of the Warhol people. I used to hang out there when I was at Yale, and Ted Gershuni got Mary Warrenoff, who was not a star then. He was married to her, and she was a Warhol star, and I loved her. So Sugar Cookies, had a pretty good cast and production value, but unfortunately, it was boring. So what are you going to do? Gershon Kingsley, who just died and who pretty much was one of the first with the synthesizer, he wrote Popcorn, which if you look it up, it's one of the biggest selling jingles or synthesizer tunes in history.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a pretty good package there. Not to mention my package, which didn't reveal the way the guy.
I've seen pictures.
Yeah, I'm very proud of it. Check out Return to Nukem High. Return to Nukem High. You'll see it's pretty good for a Jewish man. Anyway, going back to Oliver, he became crazier and crazier, and he went through 2 or 3 wives, and his behavior was not appropriate to my debutante wife. So we kind of, just when he started making it, we moved away. But he wanted to start a company with me. But looking back on it, I remember we were at the Yale Club swimming pool, and we were kind of leaning. We were in the water, leaning on the edge of the pool, talking to each other. And he had this idea to start our own company together. And boy, I'm sure glad I didn't do that. But on the other hand, I'd probably be a billionaire. But Jesus Christ, it would have been a real, Faustian bargain.
Mm-hmm. So who inspired you to be a filmmaker? Who was your inspiration growing up?
Well, going to Yale, I hated Yale, but the one thing I did like was my roommate freshman year, Robert Edelstein, was a film fanatic, and he ran the Yale Film Society. And I started drifting into what the Yale Film Society was exhibiting, which were auteur-type films.
Mm-hmm.
And the office had a stack of Cahiers du Cinéma, which is the magazine of the French Cinémathèque. And I speak French, being a privileged, I'm sorry about that, privileged white middle-class young man. So I started reading those articles, and many of them were by Chabrol and Jean-Luc Godard. I'm kind of fuzzy on it, but they were directors who were not yet directors. They were transitioning, not to women, but to filmmakers. And I bought into this auteur theory that the director should be the dictator of the film, that the film should reflect their heart, mind, and soul. You see how I'm using the wrong pronoun because I'm politically correct. It should reflect their personality. They should be the auteur, the author of the movie. And I kept going into the Yale Film Society and getting blown away by John Ford, Howard Hawks, Alfred Hitchcock, Sam Fuller, Stan Brakhage, the greatest visual artist of my lifetime. The guy who did Duck Soup, whose name slips me now. At any rate, it's not Mervyn Lewis, it's another M. But terrific. There'll Always Be Tomorrow, Duck Soup, again, great stuff. Joseph H. Lewis, Gun Crazy, Moonrise by Frank Borzage. that just one after another. And finally, I saw a movie by Ernst Lubitsch, who, as you know, did Little Shop Around the Corner, and the Greta Garbo movie with the 1939 made the musical Silk Stockings into a movie. I'm losing it. I told you I'm sky high on cat tranquilizer, and I've probably got to go to dinner. But he did To Be or Not to Be. It's the greatest movie. It's the craziest movie, and yet it's the most beautifully organized movie. It's a perfect movie. And sitting in that Yale Film Society darkness, in that I came in to troll for boy dates because Yale was only men in those days. There were only about 3 people in the theater. But I just fell in love with that movie, and I decided right there and then I was going to devote myself to cinema and give what I have to those great people out there in the dark. Quote from Billy Wilder's movie with Gloria Swanson, Sunset Boulevard. So that's when I made the decision, and then of course I got 2 job offers when I was a senior at Yale. One from a producer in Hollywood, The Owl and the Pussycat, starring Barbara Streisand, and an offer from the Canon, a shitty little independent movie company. And thanks to my good friend LSD, I chose the shitty little movie company, and I worked for them. And it's where I met John G. Avildsen, and I didn't work for the movie on which I would have perhaps met the whiniest actor person in history. So I hope I made the right decision. I've been 50 years I've had 50 years of freedom, but I've got plenty of regrets. I'm not like Edith Piaf. Je ne regrette rien. I regrette beaucoup. I have many regrets.
Well, I think a lot of people appreciate the decision that you made. So
yes, we do.
I think it worked out okay for you.
Thanks. I probably should run along. It's getting a little bit.
We should probably wrap this up.
If you want to do another, if you want to do it again, I'm just a sad old man.
I would love to have you
alone crying. So
we have
again. Just call Tom at Troma.com, and the only thing I beg of you, if you could, is to give a shout out to Watch Troma Now. That's the @Watch Troma Now, which is, and to get on that @Troma Now, you go to watch.troma.com. It'd be wonderful if you could recommend that, and
absolutely
would really help us. And
I will plug that.
That would be great.
I will plug that the whole time. Yep, I'll plug that everywhere, and I'd love to have you on our podcast. We've got a pop culture podcast, which actually we have coming up in a half an hour. So I'd love to have you on that show.
Just call Tom. I'll be happy to do it, and I'm happy to repeat.
I already like that guy's name,
Tom. Yes,
THOM though.
He just became an uncle, so we're going to call him Uncle Tom.
I have that taken since I was 5.
Well, he's going to be called Uncle Tommy, I think, something like that. So
okay, awesome. He can have Uncle Tommy.
All right. Well, thanks, Lloyd. I really appreciate you spending time with us. Go grab some dinner, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Well, best wishes, and on behalf of Michael Hers and the Troma team, thank you for your Troma love. So long, and thank you. Bye.